Hello, everyone. It's me, Warden's Fire. It's very early in the morning here and pretty late in the evening in the United States. Roughly 12 p.m. there, if you are in Indianapolis or in the Chicago area, and 9 p.m. in Los Angeles time. So I thought it'd be a great time for me to come online and speak to all the brothers, since most of the brothers that I speak to come from the United States. I was going to also compliment all my viewers and thank them all for the great contributions they've been bringing to my live streams. But also, I appreciate that you all realize that I am genuine and that I do know the Bible as I say that I do. I've been receiving many positive feedbacks on my channel, which is actually really greatly appreciated. One person left me a really nice comment that really made me feel good and said, I can listen to your stuff for hours. You really have genuine knowledge of the book. Thank you, Warden's Fire. And that means a lot to me because I have studied the book, but I've also studied life. It wasn't the book that made me a Christian, folks. It was life itself. I don't know. When I was a child, I always grew up feeling like I was living in a movie. As a child, I watched other children dress up to look like each other, to all be a part of a group. I mean, I even seen it with cigarette smoking. I mean, that's one of the classic things that we see, and kids, teenagers are growing up. Is that becomes a fad in school to light one up. But it wasn't just fucking cigarette smoking in my time. It was jogging suits, training suits, techno music, happy hardcore, scooters, all of this garbage. And I couldn't help noticing how everybody around me was participating in it in a desperate attempt to be liked, to be loved, and to be wanted and to be accepted. I never took part in that. I never took part in the masses. As a matter of fact, I worked my hardest to avoid ever becoming one of the masses. I am very much like Malachi from the Bible, Esther's Malachi. And I am proud of Malachi, and he's one of my favorite people in the Bible. And as I mentioned before, Malachi was a man who took in a young girl one day when her parents were killed. He made a promise to this young girl that he would always protect her and look after her and raise her properly. He made the promise to the parents as well before they died. One day, the king of actually not Babylon, it's Persia. The king of Persia one day was so drunk that he was binging for about a week, every day consuming high amounts of alcohol. And anyways, around the Saturday, like 6 days of being drunk, he decides, okay, it's time I want to fuck my wife. Bring my wife to me. So the wife is told to come meet the king, and she says it is not befitting of a lady to be in the presence of a man who was, intoxicated. So she refused to show up in front of the king. So the king got mad. He says, who is this woman to deny me, the king? Let's exile her. So he didn't know how to punish her. And one of the king's servants came up and said, let's exile her. So the king made a royal decree and he sealed it with his own ring. And back in the day, a royal decree really meant something. It could not be undone. So they exiled his wife, shipped her off. But after he came down from being drunk, he started missing his wife. And he started calling out for her. And the servant said, but my lord, my king, you exiled her. She cannot be returned. He says, well, abolish the decree. Abolish the decree. I take it back. And the servant said, but it's a royal decree. You cannot take it back. It cannot be undone. So the wife never returned to the king. She was permanently exiled. Now the king, being a horny bastard that he was, decided, okay, what do we do next? One of the king's servants said, well, king, how about we go out to the cities and grab all the virgin girls, grab all the girls, bring them to the harem, and then you can pick your new bride. So the king liked this idea, and he said, okay, go out and go collect all the girls. Now, Esther was your average girl, but she was pretty looking. She was a Jew as well, and she was very beautiful. Anyways, the king's guards come to town, and they start grabbing up all the women. And Malachi, he hides Esther in a pile of hay. Now, this is how much they loved each other back then. Malachi's neighbor reported to the guards that there was a beautiful woman living inside of Malachi's house. So the guards came banging on the door looking for Esther. And Malachi tried to say that his neighbor was a complete psychopath who was delusional at best, and tried to convince the guards that there was no girl in the house. But sadly, they found Esther anyways, and they dragged her off, and Malachi was left alone without her. Distraught by what happened, Malachi was getting very angry and very upset, because now he lost Esther, the one thing he really cared about in this world. She was not his wife, nor his girlfriend. He never had sex with her. He raised her as his own daughter, and he loved her as his own daughter. So the thought of her being raped by the king every single night while he's trying to sit there sleeping is really getting to him. He starts making pleas to everybody in town that works for the king to get a job working for the king. This way he could be on the inside and get the inside scoop. Nobody wanted to hire him because they knew what his plans were. But Malachi knew how to read and write. And he came across an accountant working for the king. And he basically got a job from the accountant. Now, Malachi's in. He's inside the castle now. He's inside the world. He's inside the elite now. He's working for the accountant. And he's trying to get a hold of Esther because he misses her and he wants to know if she's okay and if she's doing well. Esther has now become queen of Persia, got married to the king, and nobody's allowed in front of the queen without the king's presence. So even if Malachi came across Esther and was able to talk to her, he would be killed for standing in front of the queen without her having a man, an escort, at her side. Malachi's going more crazy by the day, worried about Esther. Then he starts praying to God out loud. He's walking through the city. God, please help me. Come on, Lord, please. I know you're there. I know you love me. I know you care about us. Please help us. And he's walking through the city, and he sees everybody's sins. He's seeing how everybody's selling out. How everybody's selling out to greed, wanting instant gratification, wanting sexual perversion, wanting to have, basically. And as he's walking through town, he starts mourning the grief of all the sins of the people in the town. And he starts apologizing to God for all the sins of the people in the town. Malachi is slowly going a little bit mad because he's missing Esther. He's getting scared that God's not really there. He's freaking out. And he starts going outside the castle gates and he starts wailing, begging to get inside, begging to talk to Esther. They refuse him. At first, they refuse him access, but eventually, he gets to talk to Esther behind a wall. She finds out that he's crying and wailing outside the gate to talk to her. So she manages to get behind a wall, and he's on the other side, and she's talking to him, saying everything will be okay. Don't worry about it. I'm doing okay. I'm fine. And Malachi is getting pretty angry with the king. But he never liked the king to begin with because the king was a pretty cruel punisher. So whenever the king came into town, riding in town on his horse, everybody would bow. It was expected, here comes the king, everybody must bow. But Malachi would never bow. And this started to really infuriate the king. He's like, how dare he not bow to me? And anyways, every time the king came across Malachi in town, Malachi would not bow while everybody else is bowing. At one time, Malachi is actually fixing his shoe, and the king comes by on his horse, and he sees that Malachi is bowing, and he smiles on his face. He gets a nice, nasty little smirk on his face. Malachi realizes the king is there, and he looks at the king, and he stands up straight, and he stands up extra tall and pumps his chest out, infuriating the king. So the king doesn't know what to do about Malachi because Malachi will not surrender. Malachi will not bow. He will not submit to being ruled. And Malachi cannot be crushed. The king even realizes that his spirit is so strong that he doesn't even try to crush Malachi. Even the guards say, shall we kill him? And the king's like, nah, let him be. For some reason, the king does not punish Malachi ever for not bowing. He wants to, he's angry, but something continuously stops the king of persecuting and harming Malachi, which is God. God keeps interfering. God actually made the king see respect in Malachi not bowing. But the king could not stand this fact because, hey, he is king. Everybody must bow. Every knee must bow. Anyways, long story short, Esther stays queen. Uh, Malachi gets into the kingdom as well. He is now part of the family. He's part of he's part of the system. He gets to talk to Esther when he feels like it. He stops the entire Jewish population from being murdered. What was the other thing? I forgot what the last thing was. Anyways, pretty much that's the story about Malachi. A man who never bowed, who never gave in, who never surrendered, seen the sins of others, and cried out to the Lord in forgiveness for their sins. Because he could see how the evil of the world has just come sailing over the town and taking over everybody. And that's a pretty great point I want to make about this video today. Just because you are a sinner, just because you have sin in your life, does not mean that you are a bad person. You can get rid of it at any time you want to. All you have to do is say the Lord's Prayer and you will be forgiven. And you will know you are forgiven because you will instantly feel 100 pounds lighter. I've made videos in the past called The Weight of Sin. Sin does have weight to it. It is not a fucking physical weight that you can put on and feel it. But when it is removed from you, you will feel a lot lighter spiritually. There is only one way to heaven, and that is through Jesus Christ. And you have to be reborn in this world. You have to ask him into your life and ask for yourself to be reborn. If I was to put it in cartoon terms, it is like Goku from Dragon Ball Z becoming Super Saiyan 1 for the first time. You will be reborn. Your old life will die. Your entire old way of being will die. It is very odd. Once you ask God into your life and accept him into your life, your old life will die off and you will become a warrior of his. And the more you learn about him and you start understanding, the more you love him even more. And the coolest thing about the Bible, I think, really is what they say in the Bible, that the only reason you can love God the way that you love him is because he loves you back. That whatever you give him, he will give you back and permanently give it to you. And I've been trying to tell men out there a long time that what we seek in females, every man today who wants to be married, who has this perfect idea in their head of marriage and what life would be, expects the woman in their head. Okay, this fantasy woman, she's submissive, she's loyal, she would never betray him, she would have his children, she would always honor him, she would always respect him, she would always obey him, she would always gladly serve him with a smile on her face because to her he is God. But that only way of life, that kind of a dream, that kind of a woman is only found in a genuine Christian woman who knows her role in life. Do you know how important it is for females today to actually know their roles in life? I live in Europe today, And there are families here still with five, six children. The females here know their roles. Not only do they know their roles, they are proud of their roles. They take pride in it. And America used to take pride in the same thing. You know, we got the feminists today that like to make everybody believe that the 1950s woman was oppressed. But the truth was, the 1950s woman made her house the castle for the king. She loved working in the house. She loved making new cake recipes. She loved being the best cook in the town. She was proud of who she was. She was proud of her family. The feminists have come by just screaming at you constantly, oppression, oppression, oppression. And everybody started buying into it. But I guarantee you, if we could fucking go back in time right now and pull a woman out of 1947 and bring her today, she would say that she loves her life the way that it is. She's pride. She takes pride in being a perfect mother. She takes pride in her cookie bake-off sales. She's proud of who she is as a human being. She's proud of her role as mother. You know, there's this false delusion out there that enlightenment is a great thing to have. You know how dangerous enlightenment is? Let me tell you an example of how dangerous enlightenment can be. If you are a child, 10 years old, going to school, and you should be learning about science, mathematics, and all these important issues in life that you're going to need later on, all these skills. And then some teacher comes by and starts teaching you about sexual education, putting a condom on a banana and how to do it properly. What they just did to you is open up a whole new fucking world you didn't even know about. And that's what enlightenment truly is. What was it when Eve ate the apple? What actually happened to her? A whole new world of information opened up to her. And that was sin. God deliberately kept that away from human beings because he knew if human beings had that knowledge, it would lead to self destruction in human beings. That's what the apple of wisdom is, folks, the fruit of wisdom. It's enlightenment. Now, many people think that they become smarter with enlightenment, that you have learned more things, that great technologies have been built off enlightenment. Yes, but there are two different kinds of enlightenment in this world. There is the dark enlightenment, and there is the biblical, Christian, godly enlightenment. And I've chosen the godly enlightenment. But many people today who are lazy and want instant gratification have turned to the dark version of enlightenment. You know, when you go to the supermarket today and you look at sodas and you look at caffeine drinks and you look at laundry soaps and you look at food articles, you'll see that every article has a special logo. Everything has its own brand name. Everything has its own little trademark design. But none of you understand the symbols. I happen to understand them. You know, a lot of the things that you buy today in the store actually literally say Satan on them. Satan's product, made by Satan. But you don't even realize it when you use the product. All you see is the logo. That was my dog in the background. She just shook herself off. That was quite a funny sound. Okay. When you buy, for example, a laundry soap, and on the logo there is a circle with an arrow tip, but the arrow tip is going in itself, like the circle is eating itself. That falls back to basic symbology back in the day when it was a pagan symbol used to refer to infinity. So what you're looking at is a product that is basically saying that it will bring your items uh, perfect lifetime and perfect health to your items, that they'll always stay this perfect color and this beauty and all this stuff. But what it really is it's a mixing of chemicals. It's alchemy on a pretty high level, and we don't even understand what the hell we're doing. You know, this is the same thing. If you okay, let me tell you how this world works. Everything that we think is good is bad because everything in this world that is reversed. The world was made in one way. Adam and Eve ate the apple, which changed the way of the world. That change, we have been following that change since the moment that Eve ate the apple. But that was not how the world was originally designed. The world was designed for a life of human beings, a race of human beings that never ate the apple. So we can keep going in one direction as human beings, but that's not the way the planet was designed. So if we keep going in a direction that the planet is not designed in, we're going to continuously have conflict. You will never have peace. It is only when you follow that book, and everybody follows that book, will you have genuine peace. And I do not understand why people hate the book, because there are things in this book that some people spend a lifetime figuring out. There is no book out there with such wisdom as the Bible. There are lessons in the Bible that could be learned within 2 minutes of reading that you might actually spend your entire lifetime trying to figure out if you did not read the book. I can give you a few passages from Psalms, for example, from the Psalms. But for example, I like the Psalms a lot because to me they're a bunch of rules. But they're not rules to restrict my life or subjugate me or oppress me. They are simple rules to make my life better. And many people don't seem to understand that. And that's really quite sad. And the book of Proverbs is another great rule book to me. Let me see if I can find something here. Okay, here we go. Proverbs 1. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of the understanding, to receive instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and iniquity, to give prejudice to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of the wise and the riddles. This book is telling you that if you don't pray to God first before you actually bother to read, you will not be able to read it. You want to know if God is real? Try to read the Bible without praying first. I guarantee you will not reach 2 pages through the book and actually understand what you just read. That's the beauty of this book. You need a decoder ring. And the decoder ring is called discernment. And the only way you're going to get discernment is if you are with God. And the more that you are with God, the stronger your discernment will be. Your discernment will become so strong that you will become like Malachi. When you walk down the street, you will see the sins in others. And you will feel bad. Just recently I said a prayer to God for no other reason, just because I felt like it. I said, you know what, God? Usually I pray to you for healing or advice or something from you. But you know what? I want to stand here today and just think about all the suffering in the world and what you have to witness every single day as the creator of us. And thank you for never giving up on us despite everything that you've seen us do. Because you see everything, and you have seen the most filthiest things in humanity, such as people shitting on each other, killing each other, raping each other, hurting each other, disrespecting each other, raping their family members, killing each other, killing their family members. Despite you seeing that every single day in us in humanity, you still love us. You think I would ever said a prayer like that 5 years ago as a Christian? I was a Christian back then too, but I was also a demonic rocker. I spent a long time in the music world. I have a few recordings out there. I was a drummer for a long time. I still am a drummer. I just don't play in a band anymore. But I lived in that dark world. And I only, actually, when I was living, this is the beauty of me, Wardrobe's Fire. Whatever situation I am in, I will be in analyzing mode. Always in analyzing mode. I don't leave the analyzing mode. So if you put me on a football field surrounded with cheerleaders and people sitting in bleachers and a big football team playing a game of football, I'm not going to be analyzing the game, who wins. I'm going to look at the mob mentality of people, and that's what I analyze. I analyze human behavior, and I do so on a very deep level. This is why I can spot the narcissist within 2 or 3 seconds nowadays. I only have to say one sentence, and based on their reply, I can already tell what kind of person they are. Discernment is very strong in me, and I can only say the reason that is because I've fully given myself to God. I've literally said, God, you know what? You do with my life as you want to, because whatever I do, it turns out wrong anyways, or it blows up in my face, or it does succeed. But you know what? I'm just so tired of the constant struggle. I'd rather follow your path that you created for me thousands of years ago before the planet was even made. Because he even says that, that when he made the world, he had you in his head. He was thinking about you when he made the world. He says he knows every hair on your head, how many you have. He says he knows all the number of the stars in the universe and that he has named every star out there. Think about that. That's quite an achievement. To name every single star, let alone created them all, made the vast universe. You're talking about a spirit that is so powerful you can't even put it into words. And you can't even deny he's not real. Because you can really feel him everywhere if you really look for him. If you just look for him, you will see him. You'll even see him while you're just like sitting in a room and this bright beam of sunlight just comes in your house for no reason. The rest of the street is all grayed out and like gray skies and rain clouds above, but your house has this big sunbolt right on it. Big solar flare right through your window. It's the same thing with tornadoes. I know a lot of people think this is crazy if I'm going to say this, but a lot of people, when you watch a tornado, you'll see a tornado takes out 3 or 4 houses, skips a house, takes out 7 houses, skips a house. And I have to wonder if the houses that are being skipped, if they're not Christian houses or not, that they're praying to God for protection. Because I know a lot of people will just think, oh, well, a tornado just jumps up and down and it lands wherever it wants to. But is that really accurate? Because what we have today as well is even that the media is actually saying that the weather is being used as a weapon right now. Well, I don't believe for a second the weather is being used as a weapon by any man, by any human being. What I do believe, though, is, recently, excuse me, recently that there was that Indian earthquake, the 7.9, that took down those 2 Shiva temples. But the funny thing is, I mean, it wasn't. It was sorry, it wasn't in India. It was oh man, I'm Yemen. I think it was Yemen. Yeah, I'm a little tired. I haven't slept all night, and it's pretty early in the morning here. But anyways, they sacrificed animals. They sacrificed 5,000 animals on a field to the god Shiva in Yemen. And about a month later, an earthquake came and it took out 2 temples in the city. Of course, the news media says, "Look, the whole city's in ruin," and the city was pretty badly damaged. But they didn't mention about the 2 temples coming down and how they collapsed. And yet the footage that was recorded was of the temples being knocked down. And it was quite interesting to see the temples go down because the way that they came down, it almost looked like it was a controlled demolition, which is very odd when you consider an earthquake. You would believe that the entire buildings would shake from its foundation, but that's not what seemed to happen. It seemed to crumble from the top and then collapse on itself, which was very odd, as if it was being pancaked. Anyways, folks, a lot of people today are saying, "Oh, they still make you wear those fire. You're a Christian, blah blah blah." But they don't seem to mention that the couple of 100 million of Muslims that pray every day, 5 times a day to their God. There seems to be no criticism for that. Is everybody afraid of God or something? Are you all thinking that He's some kind of enemy that wants to attack you and kill you and destroy you? I mean, you all turn to the devil with such ease. You just hand yourselves over to him. And yet he is the destroyer. He is the one that kills. He is the one that brought death into the world. You all hand yourselves over to death so easily. But you don't want to hand yourself over to the light. You don't want to give yourself over to the eternal life. But you give yourselves over to death in a heartbeat. I don't understand this. I really don't understand why mankind is so tempted constantly to go to the dark side. You know, Anakin Skywalker is another perfect representation of Lucifer, right? Look what happened to him. He became narcissistic and entitled and believed that he had the right to kill anybody he wanted to. That's just like Lucifer. He went into that town after they kidnapped his mother and killed every man, woman, and child inside of there. And he said he slaughtered them like animals because they were animals to him. Well, that sounds like Lucifer to me. That's how he sees us. He sees mankind as nothing more than an animal as well. I mean, the whole reason that Lucifer is pissed off is for the simple fact that he doesn't want to serve humanity. While the angels above are still serving humanity, he refused to. He thinks of us as monkeys, like that we are just pathetic creatures, like we are just ants in an anthill, in an ant farm, I should say. And maybe we are just ants in an ant farm. But if the Almighty loves us, why shouldn't He? He's become our adversary, folks, and you're all turning to the adversary. I was reading last night a Communist Manifesto, 45 things that had to happen to America make it become communistic. And it was quite amazing, some of these things on the list that I've actually seen them come to pass in the last 60 years. And I've been warning people about it, and they don't want to listen to me. You know, one of them was to allow the homosexuals in. And, well, there's 45 reasons, and I'll talk about them in the next video. I'm still waking up or falling asleep. I'm not sure which one it is. I've had that leg issue with I got burnt last week pretty bad, and now the back of my leg is completely blistered up, and it's very painful. So sleeping is not an option right now. Um, so I'm half awake and half asleep. Perfect little limbo zone. So I'm wondering why the views dropped off. Well, yeah, I guess people have their own things to do. They got to go to work or whatever. Um, Nobody leaving any commentary. I guess I might as well call off the finish this call and just talk to you guys later. I guess. So you all have a good day. This is Warden's Fire, and I'll see you all later. Take care. Bye.